What's up guys, this is Shannon. Today we're gonna check out Residensi Kajang Utama in Kajang. Let's go! It's a very interesting project today because this is a project developed by PR1MA. And there are just so many questions about what they do and how their product looks like and who are actually eligible to purchase their project. We are in Taman Kajang Utama, which is a branch out from the Silk Highway after you pass by New Era College as well as the Uni KL College. This is one of the only high-rise around the area. This is surrounded by two commercial areas. When you come in, also there are a few commercial areas already. Coming in from the main road, there will be a checkpoint here where the security guard house is. And just something peculiar is they didn't put a boom gate at the entrance, but they put it at the side of the entrance instead. Guess because they want to prevent convention from the main road, so they put it in here. So now we are in the facilities deck. Coming up from the lift, there are 3 blocks altogether, in total of 566 units. From this podium at level 4, we are already the highest building around here. You get to enjoy left and right unblocked view all the way. So around here you can also see a lot of social housing, a lot of schools, and a very close accessibility to the Silk Highway. And we can also see train stations already, so that's nice. Also, a lot of trees. So I also enjoy the inclusivity elements within the design, so to ensure everybody gets to enjoy every space. So I just met up with the team and there's a lot of questions. First of all, who is PR1MA? They are a corporation under an act. They're not just a development company. So they used to be under the Prime Minister office, but now they are under the supervision of KBKT, which is the Housing Ministry. And shockingly, they are, I think, one of the biggest property developers in Malaysia with 70 projects across Malaysia. So it includes Sabah, Sarawak, and to date itself 39,000 units has been sold. All these achievements are very impressive even for a private developer, but this is under Akta 739. Therefore, they kind of have this misunderstanding about who they are. So this is the reflexology area, and you also have some planter box around, and that is located next to the basketball court, also the futsal court, I think a multi-purpose court lah, next to the playground. So it's actually not a playground, it's an open gym, which makes more sense. They don't run like a profit-centered company where you have shareholders to answer to. Ultimately, the goal is to enable M40 folks to own a house of their own. We just walked out of Block C just now, which is the block closest to the main entrance. Coming through this will be the tadika space as well as the washroom area. So if you look into the lobby, it's very comfortable, and in terms of scale, it's very spacious. Okay, yes, the price can be around 200 over thousand for an apartment. Will that actually compromise build quality? So in order to address that concern, now all PR1MA projects will need to go through QLASIC. QLASIC is this body that established a standard for build quality for all projects in Malaysia. For Singapore, it's called Conquest. For Malaysia, it's actually called QLASIC. And for most of their projects, they achieve a point of 78%. The highest is actually 80%. Anyway, now we are in the sitting area below Block B, right in front of the Taska, which is the Tadika. Well, this is also known as the reading corner, but if you look into the dressed up, most of them are actually tiled up to ease maintenance, because if it's all turfings and all, you also still need maintenance. So these are efforts to keep the maintenance costs low. In this area then we have the children's play area, a very extensive one. There's just a lot of empty space to run around. Right next to the playground there will be a surau here. And I like the spacing that they have between blocks. So they kind of control the building height to not go so high, because that involves more construction costs for foundation actually. So they kind of just even out. For 3 same height, they don't do that. They kind of have this scaling building height, which is nice. And in between blocks will be all the elements of facilities. Then by walking around the facility deck, you can see treatments like this. You have vent blocks that they use as the handrail for certain spaces. So that is the hangout space, or the community center. They call it the ruang anjong. So this is really testing my Malay language. And you can see, because this is surrounded by 2 commercial areas, they will provide convenience from a pedestrian experience. So I can just walk out, don't have to drive out all the way or take the train. I can somewhat solve most of my needs already. But we will go check them out later. Then I like the ramps, I like the handrails. There are still certain level of design elements that's incorporated within. And these are signs of maintenance work. So at least the management office is still putting effort in trying to make good. The next question then will be, who are actually eligible to purchase a Prima property? So in their official statements, they target M40 folks who are earning a household income to 15,000. So there are a lot of examples where they are not as strict with the criteria of owning one, because they have somewhat already addressed the intent of own stay by eliminating the investment elements to it. Whenever you purchase a Prima property, there will be a moratorium. It means that you need consent from the developer whenever you want to sell, and you will need to justify the reasoning of selling it. So that kind of prevents property flippers already. And for all these projects also, it's not encouraged for rent. So it's really meant for rakyat Malaysia to have a place to stay within that affordable price range. And when we think about such project, right, does it mean that all these kind of projects are not in prime areas? Actually, not really, as we have one that's located in Bricksfields itself. So it's somewhat just like any other properties. We must always qualify location first. And now we are in the multi-purpose hall, and it's located right next to an open area. So if you can use this for kanduri, for family events, birthday events, whatever, right? You even have a stage with it. I think this is going to be very useful if you incorporate this with the kindergarten. So whenever they have an open day or whatsoever, this is going to be very, very useful. As part of the cost measure, you only install fans, there's no aircon in place. And for flooring, it's all cement screening. For the stage, I guess it's all tiles for ease of maintenance. Yeah. Coming up from the facilities deck, we are now in the highest level of the car park. And because of the land profile, it's rather interesting. The whole car park is very open. Plus the building is also narrow, so you have openings on both sides. It's very ventilated, it's very bright. By looking at the structure, they are using flat slab system, so it's very tidy. And they're using a split force system, means that there's a level 3 and a 3A, 2 and a 2A, 1 and a 1A lah. Then for flooring, they are using cement screed, and closer to the lift lobby, they are epoxy paints. And after parking, this will be the walking experience going into the main lobby. There will be a ramp here which is nice and gentle, and I like they kept this private, which means there's no car park right at the entrance of the lobby due to safety reasons. Because once the lift door open, my kid might just run. There's still some buffer space before it reaches the road. So I really like this. Then for ceiling height is 2.75, and the allocation of car parks per unit, some they give 2, some they give 3, depending on the size, also the floor height. Then now walking into the block C, there will be a fire door, 3 lifts all together. So on a normal floor plate like this, it's divided into 2 wings served by 3 lifts. 4 units on this side, 4 units on this side. And when you come out, there will be a void in the front. Plus you have voids at the side too, so that's really open. Then on one wing, there will be 4 units, 2 on one side. So in terms of privacy, it's very comfortable. And this is those open areas that is very generous. Especially when you come from a profit center development background, right? All these are areas that are not monetized, but they are all given to the residents. Also, as part of their cost saving measures, right? They are leaving the ceiling all exposed, because if you were to add in plus the ceiling, there will be a whole layer of cost all together. Okay, so this looks tidy. Okay lah. So that just now was for the standard floor plates. Now we are going to check out the available unit, where they also call it like the garden unit, where it's within the facilities floor itself. So by having a unit like this, you have direct access to all facilities, but on the other side you will have less privacy. So see which one you want lah, right? But anyway, this building has been handed over for 2 years already after completion, and a common concern constantly raised up by this particular developer, right, would be their delay of handover. So to me, there's 2 ways of looking at it. It depends on which time zone that is delayed, because during this MCO period, right, I would say almost all projects are delayed because all are affected by the same problem of supply and labor and materials, all those kind of things. So this is going to be the unit I'm going to check out today. It's C5 and C6, which is a mirror, okay? And it's a 1119 square feet unit. And because this is located at the facility floor, it has a terrace area of 151 square feet. In total, there will be 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. And when you come in from the foyer, straight away you have your kitchen at the corner. And this is a big kitchen altogether, living and dining. Then you have a private corridor to 3 of your bedrooms. Then you will have the terrace. Overall, I like that this facade is very long. So on the upper floors, right, all this will be windows, which is nice. So coming into the unit, this will be the foyer, and the width is 1.3 meters. This will be the foyer that is shared between you and your neighbor. So this is very generous. Wow. Okay. Going into the unit, immediately you will have your living, dining, and your kitchen space. The door is a 3 feet door, pretty standard one, so the opening is 870 mm, and this wall to wall distance will be 1.5 meters. So when you move stuff, it's not as narrow, it's still workable. But in comparison to that, the kitchen space is amazing. And in comparison to that, it's still small when you have a living and dining space that spans across 5.5 meters. Anyway, ceiling height is 2.93 meters, very comfortable. And this entire space is very bright due to its huge opening on the facade. And we have always talked about this configuration where you have the living and dining here together, right? It's a very comfortable setting, and now when you have a kitchen like this, you can have the island here, the breakfast counter here. Ooh. On a standard unit above, right, I don't think you have this terrace area, but instead it will just all be windows, but it's still very big. Here we can also witness some cost saving measures in terms of the tile size. Instead of giving those 750 by 750 mm tiles, because the bigger the tiles, the more luxury it looks, right? But the objective here is different. So they save cost by using smaller tiles but not compromising quality. And here also means spatial quality, like you're looking into this space, right? For this kitchen, it's a very squarish kitchen of 2.65 by 2.67. If you add in a breakfast counter here, it's going to look amazing. You can totally have an L-shaped cabinet here, top and bottom. But most likely this will be the location for the fridge, right? If you look into the plug points provided. But anyway, they are providing 5 feet wall tiles, not all the way. And they are giving NATO windows at the side. So even the kitchen has a very nice opening connecting to the yard space. So the yard space is 1.5 meters by 2.7, a very big one, which is going to be the wet kitchen, I guess, on top of the dry kitchen that we just see. Wow. But the only setback for this unit layout will be the privacy, because everybody's going to use this to access the facilities deck, so you kind of have this privacy problem. One thing to highlight here is also the very tidy structural elements. As you can see, they are all located within the boundary of spaces. The remaining space will then be kept open. Moving on, going into the yard space, which is the specialty for this, there will be a drop going out. This will then be your very own private terrace, 2.1 meters all together in width. Anyway, that will be the surround located a stone throw away. Okay, just for information. So for standard units, right, it's going to be all windows stretched across like that, which is also amazing. This one then they will be broken a little bit to add in this boundary wall, and it's left open. So it promotes ventilation. You have direct overview of what's happening across the facilities deck. So the starting price for a unit within this freehold project, right, starts from 323,000. So it depends on which layout or which floor plate you are going for. They're going to be around that price range also lah. And when you compare to the normal standard units that we are all very familiar with, this is definitely a bargain. Of course, only limited to own stay, yeah? Coming out from the terrace, these will then be the private spaces, and I like this corridor width. It's a very nice 1.2 meters in width, and you have a beam separating it. Okay, this will then be all the bedrooms, which is all the private spaces lah. This will be one bedroom first, and the dimension of this room is 2 meters by 4.2 in length. So it's a very long third bedroom. Plus, you will have windows on 2 sides, so that's very comfortable, and this will be the location for the aircon compressors. However, do take note there will be some edges like this within the room, but I guess it's minimal looking at all the spaces outside. Then also something I wish that they could improve on will be the height of the switch. Actually, this one, there's no extra significant cost to it, but it's going to be more inclusive to all users. Moving on, the next will be the shared bathroom between visitors and the 2 bedrooms. Surprisingly, I thought they would give half wall tiles, but actually they give full height wall tiles. That's nice. And there will be a basin and WC by this brand called Karavagi. I'm not too sure how you pronounce it. You have a shower area, no shower screen, but they are still a design color separation. And the width for this bathroom is 1.45 meters. Very nice. Moving on to the next bedroom. This one is attached to the facade, which is going to have better overall lighting in the space. And the wall-to-wall width here, it's around 2.6 meters. Very, very spacious. But you can see the cost-cutting measures here again on the quantity of sockets provided. On a high-end product, we will see 2 to 3 per room, but this one we can only see 1 per room. If you want, you can always add on your own later on. Last but not least, this will be the principal bedroom. And the wall-to-wall width is 3.1 meters. You still have a place here for your wardrobe. Next to that will then be your principal bathroom, and they are providing basin and WC, no shower screen, full height wall tiles, and a window for ventilation. So overall for this unit itself, the scale is amazing, and you tie that with the selling price, right? The value for money is off the charts. And to imagine me raising a family here is totally workable. But it's pretty obvious on how they save costs in terms of windows for the kitchen, in terms of size of tiles, numbers of sockets provided within the room, the scale of windows within certain rooms, the brand of toiletries provided. So those are material specifications, but in terms of design, there's still a nice separation between open space and private zones. The kitchen space is incredible, but it's still small compared to this 5.5 meters width. I still cannot get over this typology because it's one of my favorite typologies. And within this layout itself, there's a terrace. Wow. And I guess that's all for the project. Let's walk around the commercial area. So right outside the project, within the same street, right, you have mamas, you have barbers, you have F&B, you have clinics, you have grocer like Speed Mart and all. Those are the level 1 kind of retail. And I guess when these further develop, then you will have tuition centers. Then only you have the appointment-based service providers being around here, because now you still have all the very basic one, like car service centers also are around here. Then right opposite the shops will be the social housing. I think those are the low-cost housing. Then you have some single-stories housing right opposite. Well, these are within walking distance. If you want to drive out, then you will actually reach the train stations, MRT, and the nearest mall to this project will be IOI City Mall. So I guess that's all for the visit. It's now time for Sean's take 3 on 3. The first thing I like is their approach to cost saving using design. So right from the entrance, you won't see a grand lobby or a grand drop-off because there's no need to impress guests or whatsoever. This is ultimately a home for people. Then within the facility deck, there's no swimming pool. They want to really minimize maintenance costs. So everything is all tile, it's all exposed, and there's no fancy treatments to them such as the water features or lighting design or whatsoever. Nope, it's all very practical. Then within the unit itself, you can see very clever usage of materials that will not affect livability, but it greatly reduces cost, such as the floor tiles, the window types, the number of sockets. That also includes the ceiling treatment within the corridor of the floor plate. Because of the site profile being a bit more narrow and rectangular, right, it really leverage on the profile of the site, having the entire car park space open. So that greatly reduces the M&E costs, and all these costs are saved without affecting the livelihood and the livability of the residents. So that's very, very good. And that leads to point number 2, which is the value for money. If you think about 300 over 1,000 for a 1,100 square feet unit, right, plus it's freehold, it's just amazing. So in terms of location, then it's very subjective. Since they have 70 over projects, you can always go and scroll around, and their prices are around that range. You have some around 200 over 1,000 in Seremban, then this one is actually 300 over 1,000 plus minus lah. And the third thing I really like is the mission of the establishment of this act in trying to address the housing issue within the M40 range. Because we always argue why must have swimming pool lah, why must have all the facilities that we don't need when we don't really use it. Then we look at Rumah Whip and Rumah Selangorku, those are absolutely dry, nothing one. And somewhat Prima is the in-between product for this. However, why are people not buying? Is due to the misunderstanding. That's why I'm very, very excited for this episode, because now we are actually more informed about their product type, also who are eligible for it. Therefore, the 3 things I don't like, number 1 will be the very big misunderstanding that most of us have, including industry players. A lot of people are just not sure all Malaysians are eligible for a product like this. Yes, they are targeting a specific M40 group where your household income, there's a certain range of it, but they are not very strict about it because these are not investment friendly products. There's a moratorium in place to restrict buying and selling. They don't actually encourage renting. This is actually meant for you to stay yourself, for you to have a roof over your head when you need it. But just somehow nobody knows about it. The second point that I don't like will be the location itself, but this is highly dependent on individuals. If you work around New Era College, which is like a stone throw away only, if you work around proximity and you travel to KL once in a while only using the train, right, then it makes sense for you. But if my focus is to travel to KL every single day, please take into consideration of the travelling time. Then the third point, in terms of design treatments, I wish there could be certain changes where it can drastically level up the appearance immediately. The first one will be to change the grout for the tiles, so to just change the color a little bit, then to lower down the socket a little bit. If you look into the landscape treatments and all, it's very targeted, it's very controlled, because cost is still the main concern. And one more thing will be the access key card to the lift. So if there is one more layer in terms of security and privacy for all the residents, right, that will be perfect. And I guess that's all for this episode. Do I like this project? Yes, a lot. because of its value for money. Just think about 300 over thousand, I can get such a unit, right? And just by walking around the project, you can see a lot of students coming back from school, a lot of family fetching their children to school. This is a very family-oriented project and it's meant to be. So this is definitely not investment grade. It's not for us to flip or to build cash flow or equity. No, and such an attractive selling price can only be achieved by their identity within the government sector, also integrating a lot of design strategies to control costs. And with all that, right, you still have such an impressive unit. Wow. And I guess that's all for this episode. Shout out to the team for having me. I really learned a lot today. And if you really like this episode, like it, share, and even subscribe for more information like this. Until next time, this is Xuan Tang. Ciao.